Hey guys, what's up? It's Jules here for WhatCulture Gaming, joined as ever by the fiery redhead to my absolute bedhead. It is Ash Millman. How are you?
I thought you were going to say like left or right, and then I wasn't sure if you could remember your left or your right. That's where I thought that was going. But no, it's me. Hello.
Right, let's get on with this, because you might be looking at this title and thinking, ooh, The Sinking City, that's a very interesting title that's been on the radar for many, actually, developed by Frogware and Big Ben. And thanks to Dead Good Media, we got to go out to Paris yesterday, at the time of filming, and go and play the game for its official launch date. Now, Ash has had about 10 to 12 hours with the game before, for the review that's gone up onto the website.
Yep.
And now what we're going to do for you lovely people is break down everything about our experiences and basically say, is this game, does it sink or swim? I've completely messed them up. I didn't know my left and right, but I didn't know up and down.
There we go.
So what's your first impressions with the game?
I think it is a good game, but with that noise on the end, because my first impressions of the game is that it's a great, immersive, atmospheric horror game. As soon as you're in it, you're like, oh my god, okay, they're really going serious with this whole Lovecraft thing. So you get in there and it's really like oppressive, it's bleak, you want to know what's going on, there's all these monsters wandering around. You're basically a private detective, you've gone to the city of Oakmont, and you need to know why you're having all these creepy visions.
Yes.
And why there's all these strange monsters coming from the sea and harassing the locals.
Because it seems to be that that this port has got a sort of weird curse on it, hasn't it? Where people are drawn there, they go mad, but they never leave. But the town itself is, well, it's experienced a giant flood, hence the title being The Sinking City, and you've got to figure out why people are choosing to stay there when everything is going to hell. And as you can imagine, with something that is based heavily in H.P. Lovecraft's writing, there's going to be lots of tentacles, there's going to be lots of demons and deities and otherworldly gods as you might expect. It's a really interesting premise for a game, and one that comes from Frogwares, who previously worked on the Sherlock Holmes series of games. They had 9 of those that came out.
I didn't realise there was so many of them.
I didn't at all.
I saw them pop up, I was like, wow, that is a lot of Sherlock Holmes games.
But it explains another core principle of the game, which is the fact that as a private detective, you are going around trying to solve not only the greater mystery of what's going on, but also more personal dramas that are going on, like murders, thefts, robberies, that all sort of like link into one another. It's they've clearly used their previous lineage of sort of detective games and applied it here in a really interesting way.
They have, and the way that they've combined all of the detective work and the atmosphere is really, really good, but the game does have a few problems.
Yeah, I
would have to be brought up. So.
I would say that we might as well just get this out of the way early doors. Like, the game has got fantastic scope. Like, it knows the type of story it wants to be, and it's very confident in its delivery. Like, the character animations, I think, are superb. The sort of like design of the world is great. Yeah. But maybe the technical limitations hold it back, because I was saying to you on the flight back, you can have a world that immerses you in all of these little ways, like having these weird fishmen, they're called Innsmouth.
Innsmouth is, from Innsmouth?
Yeah, from Innsmouth, and they basically are walking around, some of them are like even like draped up in like cultist gear and stuff like that. But while that brings you into the world, screen tearing, characters popping in and slightly T-posing before that doesn't. However, I have to defend that, and I know it's weird defending a buggy thing. Yeah. I do feel like that will be patched out. I feel like they've said that they're going to continue support for this game. So
I think as soon as they solve all of the weird, like, there's a few things where you get creatures like poking through doors we're not supposed to and appear in different places. So one side is all sorted, I think that's good, but I think there's a teeny tiny pacing issue as well, which is basically just because the world is so big, you've got so much running to do, and there's like massive gaps and different things, and sometimes they've like copied and pasted lots of character designs and house models and stuff, which is absolutely fine because it gives this sense of like this massive city rather than a tiny little town where everything's happening. But I feel like you can get a little bit lost in that. When it feels like it's been stretched slightly.
I mean, it's one of those things where if you twisted it to a positive, you'd say that the constant repetition of locales is kind of a symptom of madness in that sense, because it's these sort of like, the game really does lean heavily into the concept of your character's psyche breaking down. I mean, for those of you who haven't played or seen the gameplay, alongside your health bar, you've got a sanity meter. And when you encounter the wild beasts, I think they're called, aren't they?
Wild beasts?
Wild beasts.
Are you calling them wily beasts?
Basically, they're horrible horrible creatures from the sea that have been weirdly spliced together with human elements. Like you'll find a collection of hands that crawls along the floor, or you'll find a person who's ripping their own face apart, who spits at you.
Disgusting.
Like, all of these creatures are tied directly into the lore, and it's fantastic to see them inhabit this world in such a way. But I just think that there's so much detail in here that I'm struggling to sort of think of like specific parts of what I want to talk about. The detective work itself.
Yeah, we should go into that because that's fantastic. The way that where the game excels, again, you feel like you're in a horror world, but the actual detective work that they've done, it isn't just straight detective work. It is supernaturally inclined as well. So your detective, Mr. Charles Reed, has got this inner cognition that is a gift, which is like you actually find out little bits in the lore about where that could be coming from and that sort of thing. And he can basically see into the past. So you have retrocognition, where you can go and see ghostly animations of what could have happened at a crime scene. You have to use your inner eye, which might send you a bit crazy on the sanity meter. You have to use your inner eye and your mind's eye and look around for clues that you can't see with your normal vision. So there might be hidden walls, there might be visions that you get from looking at certain clues. There's all sorts that you can do. There's omens as well, which are all these like weird runic demons going, oh, go over there, and that's kind of horrible as well. But yeah, it's really good.
But every time that you're sort of spending time looking at these creatures, battling against them, that sanity meter is slowly draining, and that will affect things. Like it will even spawn more enemies to show that you're being consumed by it.
Yeah.
But the whole world itself kind of reflects this fractured psyche, because people walk around looking so deranged. There's a sense of complete unease. And after speaking to Sergio, one of the lead developers on the game, he actually explained to us that they weren't going for a sense of pure out-and-out horror in the sense of they want you to be like, oh, this is like terrifying and shocking and everything, but they wanted a persisting unease of dread to be going through this entire game. And I do feel that that's something that is a really hard thing to achieve. Like shock scares and jump scares, they're easy. You walk into a room, somebody bursts out, 9 times out of 10, the player's gonna be like, oh, wow. But I feel like I get a bit annoyed because I feel like that instills a sort of thing like, that game was scary. It's like, no, it's not scary, it's shocking. There's a big difference between those two things. But I feel like this game, in its attempt to get its level of unease and dread, is quite successful, because all the time you're going, what is going on here?
Yeah, like, it's just crazy. Like everything in there is affecting you, isn't it? Like you see it on your character, but you also feel it yourself. Like there's one bit early on in the game, I've spoke to Jules about this for like ages, because it really like absolutely got me, which is just when you actually do a diving mission. So it's not just straight detective work.
This bit,
it's not just straight detective work. It's not all of the different bits and pieces that you do on land. You also get to go down and dive into the sea. So you walk across the floor, you walk across the sea floor, just having a lovely time.
Is that how you walk across the sea floor?
Ooh, okay, I've got my diving suit on, here I go. And you're walking across and you come to this big like ledge that you find in the ocean, and you have to jump down it, and as you jump down you see like a giant horrible eldritch beast, and it doesn't jump scare you, it doesn't come out of nowhere, it just really slowly like swims across, and you realise like how deep you are in the ocean, like you can't see the top, there's this giant monster, there's all these tentacles everywhere, and it's just really horrible. Like that is the sense of like unease and dread that they distill into every moment.
Maybe it's the fact that they almost try and like normalise it, like because the fact it's like you walk around the city, and while it is kind of a negative in the fact that I feel like you can't really interact with the citizens that much in there, I do feel like the fact that they are going about their daily lives like almost in complete ignorance or obliviousness to whatever you're doing or what they appear to be, you're walking around going like, how have they normalised this? Like everything seems like it's functioning as a city would, but everyone's there like, oh, you got your lips sewn up. Yeah, don't worry, that's just a tradition we've got here. Don't think about it too much, because if you do, you'll go mad. Like I think that they're very successful in the tone that they've tried to achieve for the game. But as I said before, some of the technical limitations maybe hold it back from being the greatest example. However, for a brand new IP, like you can't really say that they've put that much of a foot wrong with this.
Oh no, I think that they've opened up a door into something very spectacular. I think also they need some props for the quite difficult thing in Lovecraft's work. Isn't just this whole cosmic horror and everything, but he was actually quite horrible. Like he was xenophobic, he was racist, and the way that Frogwares have approached this isn't to wipe it away and say this isn't what this man was. They've gone, okay, there's some really grotty things in the way that he wrote and the way that he felt, and they've distilled it into a different way of approaching it. So instead of actually getting all of the nastiness of Lovecraft, they've created cross-species people like the Innsmouthers and the Throgmortons, which are like ape people who have been fused with different animals and all that sort of thing. And they've approached it from that sort of angle rather than being like, okay, here's a load of stuff because it's of the time, which I think is a much better way of doing it. And they just face up to it, and there's things to be like read into. But yeah, you're basically quelling tensions between loads of different, like, warring people. I
mean, the game does take quite a lot on its shoulders to try and deliver into one package, because it's not just a survival horror-esque game. It's not just a detective game. It's not just a game with a message about sort of inequality between races and stuff like that. There's a lot going on, and I feel like it juggles enough to be a successful game. I especially like how it doesn't hold your hand. I feel like when the game starts, I don't know about you guys, but a lot of video games have that sort of like, press the button, oh, go over here, guess I'll go over there then, and it's like Batman games are a great example of like, you're the best detective. It's like, well, I didn't really do that much, to be honest. In this, however, it's like, it will give you clues saying, okay, they were at the corner of West Chesterfield Drive and drowned Soggy Bottom Lane or whatever, and you've got to go to the map and plonk down a marker of where you think it will be, and then search the area for that building or location. And it's simple things like that make you feel like, okay,
I'm a real detective.
I am a real detective, but also you start to get to learn the world better, because you're not just being taken to where you want to go. You're actually going, I actually have to pay attention and explore where it is. And I like the fact that in the city there's little infected streets where if you walk down, it can actually save you time, because they're effectively shortcuts between the districts, but they're full of enemies as well. So we were playing and I was like, you were like, don't go down there. And I was like, what's wrong with going down here? And there's like all these enemies start appearing off the floor, and I'm like, I can run through this. Just like, it was pretty good.
But yeah, there's so many wonderful elements to this game. The monsters are fantastic, the way that they've thought about them, and there's quests and missions and stuff in there that let you learn more about them, more about the lore of them, and where they've decided that they've come from and how they've interpreted them, which I think is fantastic. I love a good monster lore.
Well, in fact, you're going to be doing a video on the sort of like the hidden meanings of it, because we're going to be playing a bit more of it and then figuring that out as well. And we actually have a lovely little tidbit that Sergio said that one of the sound designs, the Foley for the creatures, the hand slappy one, they got a dead chicken and they just like slapped it and recorded it and punched it and stuff like that, and that's the noise of the walking animation.
Dead meat, so actually, raw chicken.
I love that.
Who knew?
Creating a video game sounds like so much fun, and it's clear to me that these guys had a really passionate development. I mean, it was announced back in 2017 when they started working on it, and to have it come to fruition now, they must be very, very happy with it. And as for the game itself, if you're looking for something that is going to be more reminiscent of Silent Hill than maybe the later Resident Evil games, this is the game for you, because I feel like it's something that delves more into the psychology of design choices, rather than it being like, blah, I'm gonna kill you now and I've got 17 arms. I mean, they do have 17 arms, some of them, but they're not just like being gruesome for the sake of being gruesome.
No, that's a really good point. It's definitely, it is old Silent Hill. It is definitely psychology, it's all psyche, it's minds, it's brooding dread, not the terrifying.
I mean, I really enjoyed my time with the game, and I'm looking forward to playing more of it. But I just want to say a big thank you again to Dead Good Media and Big Ben for flying us out there to France to play that game. Ash's review is already on the site at the moment. But what score did you give it, or are you going to keep that secret to get them to go over there and read it? I don't know.
You know, I'm gonna sell him.
That's fine.
I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 because it is an incredible game, but it's an incredible but flawed game. And you've got to approach it knowing that there's going to be some problems and things that you aren't going to fall in love with, but the way that it builds its narrative, the way that it immerses you in the atmosphere, the actual passion and love that has gone behind it is evident, and it's a joy to play, to see how all of that pans out, and the story elements are what make this game. So if you're into that and you like that, you'll have a really good time. But if you just don't get bogged down with a couple of things that are a little bit here and there.
And trust me, there is a ton of content in there, because not only is the game they said it was going to be a sort of 30-hour game to get everything done in it. There's tons of side quests, but they will be supporting it with DLC further down the line as well, so there'll be even more cases to go in and solve. But we'll keep you updated on that, because we might have a special video coming out. I can't announce what it is yet, but it will be a very different type of video, but still linked to the Sinking City, so stay tuned on the gaming channel for that. As always, I've been Jules. You can follow me at RetroJ with a 0 over on Twitter, and
I've been Ash. You can follow me on Twitter at Ash Millman.
You sound like you forgot.
Left
and
right.
My name. Left and right.
I know it.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us with this, and I hope you enjoy it. Let us know if you picked up this game and what you think about it down in the comments section below. But until then, we have been Jules and Ash. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.